colour in it, eh? It's my colour. You know, this is the third one I've set up of these. I think they're actually pretty decent guitars. These little ball back Daisy Rock guitars. I mean, I've heard a lot worse. I expected it to not sound this good. But anyway, I digress. I wanted to do a quick update on the last video about Craigslist because I've learned a lot since then, and things have changed. So if you watched the last video, I told you about an aggressive and malicious flagger. And those exist, and I found out that there are people that actually buy software to repeatedly flag competitors. And it's not inconceivable that somebody who sells musical instruments would seek to flag down all competition so that their ads are left standing in the listing and everybody else's are gone. I think it's a horrible thing to do. I don't agree with it. I would never do it myself. I can't see anything but bad karma coming out of that. I don't know why anyone would waste their time and resources to do that. But that's how my situation started. And of course I was defiant in that last video, and I said I'm not going to be bullied. I'm going to keep posting, it's my right, blah blah blah. Well, what I found out is that once you get flagged a few times, it lowers your threshold. It makes your posts weaker and weaker. And then eventually Craigslist themselves starts getting involved. And for the first few times my ads got flagged, I received an email informing me that they'd been flagged, which means that somebody is flagging them. And then I started getting flagged without an email, which means Craigslist themselves is flagging the ad. And then I started posting things that would be accepted, and I'd see a URL given for the ad, but they would never show up on the sale index, on the main home listing, which is called ghosting. I know you know all these terms, but they're new to me. So after I dealt with the flagger, I started having issues with Craigslist themselves. They started pulling my ads one in a while, you know, one here and there to start with, and then more aggressively a higher number, and eventually they just started flagging everything, and anything that did get through would get ghosted. It wouldn't show up on the index. So basically my Craigslist account is now no good. Now I've heard a couple of things about this. Number one is wait 3 days, it'll reset, and then as long as you don't overpost, it'll allow you to start posting again. That's not happened after a day and a half, so I don't know if that's going to be the case, but obviously my post got flagged enough to make my account visible. And another thing that I found out also, that in recent months, maybe as late as the beginning of this year, Craigslist is now coming down on what they call overposters. You used to, for years I had no problem posting 5-6 ads a day. Not about the same thing, not repeat ads, but ads about different instruments. No problem whatsoever for years, but now they're becoming more and more aggressive about going after those types of people. Why? Can't quite really figure out why. There are lots of private sellers that have multiple items. You would think they would want to encourage repeat usage, but for some reason they suspect that people who have multiple items for sale might be spammers or repeat ads or something. I don't really understand the mentality. So things start getting auto-flagged if you start posting too often. I did have one of you who sent me a reply saying just complain, put in a complaint, call them and put in a complaint. Actually, you can't. You can get hold of a phone number, but a live person doesn't answer. There have been people who have gotten through to a live person But I've found literally hundreds of sites where people complain that Craigslist is not willing to do anything about their flagging policy. And if your ads get flagged, it's just tough shit. I mean, they're not going to do anything. So basically, if you want to stay on that site, you have to comply with their rules, changing rules and stringency, or just not post on that site. And I came across quite a few websites where people are saying they just gave up on Craigslist, they're tired of it. You don't get these issues at all on any of the other listing sites like eBay or even Facebook Marketplace. For all the problems I've highlighted about them, they don't have this over-posting thing that I'm aware of. And they don't give people the ability to flag your ads for no reason. So if you want to continue, the stipulation in print that I found is you can only actually post one ad in one category per day. So people who have a number of things to sell, they're going to have to space their stuff out. You might be able to get away with 2 or 3 perhaps, but anything more than that, now they're just starting to auto-flag them. And I guess that's what I've run into. Whether they're going to allow my account to continue or I'm going to be in Craigslist jail forever, it remains to be seen. I guess I'll know in 2 or 3 days. I did send a written complaint to them. I don't expect it to be answered. And I have also started a second Craigslist account and posted a couple of ads. I'm not posting more than 2 a day. I'm posting a couple of ads from one of my places of work so that Craigslist sees a different ISP. And so far, the 2 that I've started with, postings have gone through and there are no issues. So I might just have to wean off one account and slowly move everything over to another account. People have all kinds of suggestions for this. Some of the things I've run into so far, firstly, find a way to get fake ISPs and using VPNs, or so you can flag so you can post in different cities, and so you can post many times and look like a different user. I'm not interested in doing that. I know that people, a lot of car sellers and home sellers, realty people, they do this. They buy the software and they mask their IP address, and they use VPN addresses and stuff like that. Sorry if I'm not using the correct terminology. And it just sounds like a full-time job to try and fool Craigslist. I mean, honestly, if I have to go to those lengths to list a few things on Craigslist, I'd rather just start looking for other places to list. I don't know. I don't want to invest all that time into doing that. So that's one thing that's suggested. And other people have a more wholesome approach. Change the wording on your ads, change your titles all the time. One person I saw a video suggested putting all your text onto a JPEG and then just uploading the image so that Craigslist doesn't actually see text. Again, that's a lot of work for listing. One person has an Excel database where he keeps 10 different text variations of each ad, and he keeps cycling them around so that he can post and fool the bot, the Craigslist sensor. Really, that's just a lot of work to go to be able to just use a listing site. I'm not interested in spamming. I'm not interested in having the same ad go out 300 times a week. All I have is a handful of instruments that I want to sell, and I want to make them available to local buyers. That's it. I'm not interested in anything beyond that. And I do use Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. So if Craigslist goes away from me, I'll still have the other, but it still cuts into your sales. I still get a lot of good customers and business from Craigslist, even though I get a lot of headaches from them too. A lot of low ballers and no-shows that are just really annoying to deal with, but you get those on all sites. So I don't know. Some of these suggestions that I'm seeing that have been offered to me aren't attractive. They require lots and lots of work just to be able to list a few things per week. I just think that's exorbitant, and I'm loath to really put that much effort into something that should be freely available. I mean, you know, I'm starting to already think about alternatives just because I'm so annoyed with this situation. I'm going to see how my new account goes, but if that starts getting flagged, and I will go slower in adding ads, you know, if that starts being problematic, I really seriously will think about moving on and selling in other areas and just maybe doing Facebook locally, maybe adding Amazon or something to my selling tools. But anyway, this may be completely boring to you. It may not have anything to do with what you do. You're guitar lovers and you don't, you know, you watch this channel purely for information on instruments. If so, I apologize. But I know there's enough of you that I hear from regularly that are buyers and sellers and do your own selling and buying on all of these forums and have experience with them. And so I just thought it was worth doing a video, my last video, to see what kind of responses I would get. But it seems like the problem that I reported in the last video has escalated to something a little bit different. It's one thing to get in trouble with a couple of local flaggers. It's another thing when Craigslist themselves starts targeting your account and just wiping everything out that you do. Although they're related, one can lead to the other, because if there are enough complaints from other people, you know, the algorithm changes to where Craigslist starts monitoring your sales a bit more. Is what I'm reading. It's all very mysterious. Nobody really knows what goes on. A lot of this is very speculative, but it does seem that the flagging from the outside is what prompted you know, more activity from Craigslist themselves. Because I mean, I haven't really changed my habits in the last 10 years. Maybe I've increase the amount of ads, but really it's not anything exorbitant. I mean, I see other people posting the same ad 10 times a day and somehow they get it to go through. I'm not doing anything like that. Right now I've got probably 8 or 10 guitars and as many ukuleles that I spread out and maybe post 3 or 4 a day. Obviously that seems to be an issue because when you start renewing them, people get annoyed that, you know, all the same person's ads are taking up the page. You would think people would be glad to have that available and that amount of variety, but there are people that obviously aren't and are very competitive and aggressive about those sorts of things. And I don't really mind spacing things out further and trying to comply with these changes that appear to be in effect with Craigslist. But if it gets to the point where you've got to order software, beg, cheat, lie and steal to get ads to go through, I seriously will have to rethink you know, the business platform, at least for local sales, because you know, some of the lengths that people are going to, I see on YouTube videos and on websites or chat sites. I hope they're making good money because, you know, it looks like 10, 12 hours a week of, you know, flim-flamming around so that you get a few ads to stick on this format. So anyway, I just wanted to, I really didn't want to do 2 Craigslist videos in a row, but I really wanted to update the last one to give you more of an idea. And also, some of you might have run into this issue yourselves. It seems like there are literally hundreds of hits when you type into Google auto-flagging on Craigslist or something like that. It seems to be a massive issue, and people are really unhappy with that site. And a lot of people wish that something would come along and take over the local sales market, because Craigslist has so many issues and quirks that they are not interested in straightening out or fixing or dealing with. It's a bit like eBay, isn't it? There's so many auction sites that have come out and tried to kill eBay, but eBay hangs on to its majority share in that world. And Amazon, I suppose you could put into that category as well. But definitely, I hope one of these other sites, I hope Facebook Marketplace does eventually take over. For all the complaints I've had about that site, you can't go on there and maliciously flag, without having any reason to, or without having to prove why you're flagging other people's posts. It doesn't have that feature. If it does, I'm not aware of it. It doesn't seem to be an issue. Craigslist is just littered with people, flagging en masse, for all sorts of malicious reasons. And I don't know. I'm getting really disenchanted with dealing with it, even though the business from that site has always been good. Anyway, I'll leave it there and try to get back to guitars. Okay, see you next time.